everybody's built to do, and I appreciate the
Thank you
people
for
that are
those
doing
comments.
it. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I have high respect for all what you all do, and being short-staffed doesn't help. So you're doing the best that you can, and I know I've known you for many years. I know that you really are passionate about this, and I just want to say thank you.
I appreciate the comments. Thank you.
Anybody else? Fringe, have anything?
I just want to say thank you, because this
Right.
is mind-boggling.
Yeah. I've got a comment and a question.
Yes, sir.
And the comment is at the middle school and the other schools, hopefully the calls will go down because they've just instituted State Statute 1429, I think it is, where not only classroom doors will be locked, but all hallway doors to all the buildings will be locked. And we just implemented that last week at University High, and it really is controlling the traffic a lot, because kids will go out to the bathroom and they'll go here, there, and meet their boyfriend, girl, whatever. And it's really cut down on a lot of that, so hopefully it'll help it with our officer at the middle school.
Well, and it's a deputy out at the middle school, you're saying?
Yeah, at all schools, yeah. It's all
The deputy's
schools.
at the high school right now, and we have our officer in the middle
Right,
school.
right. And all
Guardians
of the
elementary.
schools will have to fall
Oh,
under
good.
this state
Excellent.
statute, which, yeah, in a way it's a pain, but I think we're going to adjust to it really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other question is, what kind of training do we do for mental health, people with mental health issues? Because I know when I was in Tallahassee, I went with the League of Mayors to one of the mental institutions there, and they service that whole, however many county it is, Wakulla, Leon
Right.
County and that. And in all those 4 or 5 county areas, they have a response time of like 20 minutes. So if an officer's out there and he sees that it is a mental health issue, someone else can be there within 20 minutes. Do we have anything similar to
Well,
that?
No, not in our department. Our officers receive crisis intervention training from the academy into our FTO program and ongoing. That's a requirement of FDLE, who gives us our certificate. So we continually try to we'll bring people in for our in-service training and have them go over the latest and greatest on, de-escalation and mental health training. But it is a
Right.
huge issue. It's very, very big with police officers, as you know. I spoke at last year's police chiefs conference because we had 2 officers, die of suicide here in our little small, department. So it's a growing trend, but we continue to stay up on that training as well. But we would have to reach out to another agency if we needed someone to respond
Right.
in that
Can I make a
fashion.
comment on that real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Through my participation as a committee member with the opioid abatement, there's an outfit called the Recovery Alliance in
Heard of it,
Ormond
yes.
Beach. If you're able to reach out with them, and I got contact information, contact person's name.
Well, we have
and
2 of our
they
officers are
offer,
trained.
they offer actually a resource outreach program for people, first responders, both firefighters and police, along with
Right.
police operators and firefighter or dispatchers.
No, I've heard of it.
Okay,
And
so-
UCF Restores is
And,
the same
and if
thing.
you look on the internet, they'll have the first responder program on there, and it's all free. It's paid for by the federal government.
No, the more, as, the information we have, the better. We have apps for our officers to go on if they feel, because even the laws have changed on something that used to be 1 year of an officer going through a traumatic event. Well, an officer can experience something 10 years ago that maybe now a family member has triggered that. So they've changed that particular law. But we've got officers trained in crisis intervention as well as all officers that go to it. But we have 2 that are like our peer support. They'll team up with our fire staff, has it as well, to make sure that we're, reaching out to the officers as well. Because it's a sad situation, it really is. It's a tough job on stuff that they have to see day in and day out.
All right, well, thank you, Chief,
Yes,
appreciate
thank you
it.
all very much. I appreciate everything, so.
You didn't get the memo that it was supposed to be 20 minutes long?
I did not.
Obviously.
Chief Long said he's going to give me his time.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, Chief Long, you're up.
Can I just make a brief announcement?
Yes.
So we've been having audio issues with the YouTube video since we started at 6:30. Matt just figured it out, just so you all are aware. The audio has been recorded on our DCR, and I have my manual going. However, the first hour and 10 minutes of the meeting on YouTube will not have any audio. I just wanted to make you all aware, but it is corrected as of now.
Okay, Ronnie,
So
you're up.
no information from Chief Miller.
So
We're
you
not
could,
gonna let him redo it.
That's right. That's what I
could
was going to
request
say.
the
Yeah.
audio and then
Yeah.
match it with the video. So
How you doing? Ronnie Long, I'm the fire chief. Just because me and Chief Miller are such good friends, I gave him most of my time
Thank you. We appreciate that. You're a nice guy.
because we're nice people like that.
Yep.
So this is just a very broad, basic overview of our annual report. I passed out the annual report to you earlier before the meeting started, so you have it in front of you. You'll notice there's something a little bit different in there. This time is we did a little spotlight focus on the female firefighters that we have in our department, because we have quite a few. Compared to a lot of agencies percentage-wise, so that's why you'll see a lot of their smiling faces throughout this. So, to jump right into it, I are the fire chief, and this is our lovely organizational chart here. There's one position that got changed. This guy right here decided he wanted to move to North Carolina and retired. So we have a new fire marshal, which left us a vacancy in one of the inspector positions. And then we added Captain Kyle Taylor to the training division, and we'll go through that in a little bit. So administrative roles, we prepare, monitor, maintain the budget for both the city of Orange City and the city of DeBary. Some of the stuff that you'll see in the PowerPoint presentation is from Orange City and also from DeBary, just because I have to do one for them too, and it makes it easier if I just do one. So, provide public information and education for citizens and visitors. We do a lot of community contact. We are in the community quite a bit, whether it's schools, whether it's daycares. We do CPR classes for businesses. We're in the community and do a lot of community outreach. Schedule and coordinate department participation in community and public education events, like I said. Process expenditures, purchase orders, purchase cards. That's Robin, who really runs the department. If anybody met her, and this is Robin's work in the annual report. She does a great job putting stuff together. Don't blame me for the page flipping. Actually, that is my fault. She was on vacation, and I did the binder thing, and I shouldn't be allowed to use any kind of tools like that because, as you tell, the pagers are getting stuck. So she yelled at me for that before I left my office today. And then the fire marshal's office reviews plans, reviews, performs annual inspections, businesses, etc. Some of our accomplishments, again, like you've heard before in the past, we are really big on our cancer initiatives and things that we try to improve to decrease the risk for cancer from any of our calls we run or the protective gear that we wear or anything like that. So we replaced the battalion vehicle this past year. It was a pretty old truck. It was left over from Chief Johnson when he was here, and he got it left over. So it's had its time. We hired a full-time training captain, replaced the part-time inspector with a full-time inspector, and replaced outdated extrication equipment that's the tools that we use, the Hearst tools that we cut cars up with, and for all the wrecks that we have. We replaced those. Those were about 13 years old, so they needed to get replaced. Again, our community outreach, public education, we did 78 community outreach programs, 12 CPR and first aid classes. We do a lot of car seat installations, and it seems to just keep going up every year. So we did 32 car seat installations. Smoke detector installs. We go out into the community and we will install smoke detectors for people that need them in their homes, or we'll check their batteries or try to figure out why they're not working. And we did 789 pounds of sharps collection. That is the diabetic needles or medication needles. So we have a sharps container program, and we have collected 789 pounds of needles, which is good because it doesn't end up in the environment, people just dropping it in their trash cans for somebody else to find. A year of service, so this is the 2023 call stats that we had. We had 1,326 fire calls, 5,543 emergency medical calls, that's cardiacs, anything like that, 564 motor vehicle accidents, and automatic aid, which means we either ran into the county area, city of DeLand, city of Deltona, or the city of Sanford, was 824. So that is a total of 7,433 calls for the year. But we ran, you'll see this little number down at the bottom, almost 9,000 unit responses last year, which is getting busy. So response by stations, Station 67 ran over 2,000 calls. Station 68, which is in our business community, the south end of Orange City, that is still our busiest station at 2,700 calls. And then Station 33, the main station in DeBary, is 2,300 calls. So hopefully in a year or so, there will be an additional station added to that. It'll be Station 39 in DeBary, so that number will change and hopefully will split a little bit on that number. So the fire marshal's office or fire prevention, again, they inspect, test alarm systems, sprinkler systems, private fire service mains, emergency generators for any of the assisted living facilities that we have. And they have now, by code, we are doing a lot of solar panel inspections. So we are required to do that now, which has actually increased greatly and has, changed a couple of things that we're doing now because they take a little bit longer to inspect. So Orange City's commercial occupancies, we're showing 1,516. Annual fire inspections, we did 1,050. And again, that's with 1 or 2 people. So, these guys are on the road a lot. Re-inspections was 149, which isn't very high considering the many contacts that we've done in the past. And building plans review, you see that number just keeps going up. And Orange City was at 225 and DeBary was at 484. So building is coming. It's coming. So, and again, we're doing all of this with 3 people. So we have 1 inspector in DeBary, 1 inspector in Orange City, and the fire marshal's running the 2 of them and trying to keep up with all the growth. So if you go to the fire marshal's office, you'll see a stack of plans on the plan table every day. They just keep coming in, so. And then training. You heard Chief Miller talk about training and what was required for them to do their training. And luckily we were blessed with the council giving us a training officer, a full-time training officer, and it has made a huge difference in our department. So we are required by state to do over 350 hours of training annually per person per year. That's required training. That's for, if you're a paramedic, you have so many hours that you have to do. If you're an EMT, that's so many hours that you have to do. Your fire standards or your minimum standard certification, you're required so many hours that you have to do. And so last year we did department-wide 11,124 hours of training, which is approximately 358 hours per person, which is getting us just right there. Now, the good thing with that is now we have it a little bit organized. It's organized training. We have somebody in the position that can say, on this day, you're doing X, Y, and Z. So if you break that down, that's really 2 hours of training is required per shift that you're on top of running all the calls that we're running. So you got to fit that in there somewhere. So he's doing a great job with getting things scheduled out in advance now and getting a plan together, and everybody's doing the exact same thing. And it's been a light years worth of difference just since October. So thank you very much for that. And again, some of the training stuff that we've done is we do regional training where we go to the training center in Daytona, which takes a little bit of work to get trucks over to Daytona while we're trying to cover the response area as well. But we do machinery rescue, some trench operations, confined space, structural collapse, man-down trainings at the Florida Power Plant, which is part of their OSHA requirements. We're part of that. We've done paramedic school for 5 firefighters over the past year and a half. We have some in school now and currently have another one that's getting ready to start, which has been, it's been difficult. It's been difficult to manage school time versus work time and get all the required hours in for that, because paramedic school, as you know, is a year long, and then once you graduate from school, you have about 3 months of a clearing process before you can go sit in front of the medical director. So until you get past the medical director, you can't act as a paramedic. So it takes a while. We did some fireground operation training. and then today Southern Area Engine Academy, which is wildfire and any of that stuff that we may come across. So, and again, all of this is in your annual report. So some of our future projects, and I have to be that guy, and you'll see it in the budget in a little bit, but we need to start talking about replacing engine 67. I know that you just bought me this beautiful truck that is in this picture right here, that we're currently using. But when we go to purchase an engine, it's 2 years out. So if we don't start talking about replacing the truck now, it's gonna get past its life expectancy. Again, and you guys are working diligently on replacing Station 68, which is going very well. We've had a few meetings now with the contractor, and things are moving right along. In the future, rebuild and replace Station 67 to allow for some drive-through bays and make things a little bit safer over there. But we know that's going to be down the line after we get Station 68 on board and all that. So hopefully one day we can build a very small regional training facility, so the very small minor things that we can do in-house, we don't have to drive all the way to Daytona for. We really need to replace our aging cardiac monitors. Our cardiac monitors which is the one thing that we use on a daily basis, all day, every day. That is the absolute most used tool that we have in our organization. And the ones that we have right now are about 15 years old. So they've well past their service life. So you'll see those in the budget request as well. Replace the outdated paging system. Hire full-time EMS captain. I understand that, and I know that that'll be in the future, but I need to start asking for it now. Review and update the city CEMP, which is a living document. That's the emergency management plan that we have. We work on that every time we have an event. Anything that we've learned, we tweak that. So that's a living document that we continue to update. Replace the outdated brush truck. Replace the Kubota that I was lucky enough to steal from Migdalia many years ago. Thank you, Migdalia. And replace the fire marshal's vehicle that's getting up to 10, 12 years old, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then hire an administrative assistant to help the fire marshal's office out, and as well as help Robin out. So if you tried to get a hold of us, not this past week, but the week before, and either the door was locked or nobody answered the phone, it's because Robin was on vacation and nobody was there. So, and then these are the budget presentation slides. So these are some of the requests that are coming up. This is what we currently have in the operating budget, our personnel services and our operating expenses. That's gone down quite a bit because I didn't ask for a $1.5 million fire truck this year. So, hopefully that makes you breathe a little bit better that we didn't ask for that. And then that debt services though is part of that, paying for that truck. So, some of the capital that we're requesting is the structural firefighting gear, and that's something that we ask for every year. The gear life per NFPA is only allowed, even if I leave it on the shelf in a bag and never use it, I have to throw it away at 10 years. Can't use it after that. So we do a recurring thing to where we're not buying a whole bunch at one time. I'll buy 3 or 4 sets every year and keep that cycle going, so we're not hitting the budget for a huge amount of money. And then this year, you'll notice that brush gear at $10,000 is something that we haven't put in there in a while. That's because our brush gear is starting to get to that point to where we have to replace it. And so we're asking for a few sets of brush gear as well, and we'll do the same thing as we'll cycle the brush gear. So the next couple of years, it'll be a little bit higher, but then after that, it'll actually start to cycle down. So
What is brush gear?
it's the lightweight fire retardant gear that we wear for wildland fires, brush fires, anything that fires outside of a structure. Anything that'll keep us out of our extrications, we use it on. So we're not in our structural gear or tearing holes in our structural gear and saving that for when we actually need it for a house fire or a building fire. This is a kind of a smaller set of underlying gear that can get kind of abused a little bit more. So
Great, thank you.
Again, this is the position request that we put in for, and again, it's the EMS captain position. We have a lot of requirements that the state is handing down, the county is handing down now, where we have to do quality assurance on a lot more reports than we had to do in the past. Before, it was just if you had a cardiac arrest, that has to get QDA'd and then sent to the medical director and then sent to the state. Now it's becoming more prevalent that almost every call that we're running now is having to be reviewed and corrected. And so there's a lot more work that is getting entangled with that position that we don't have anybody in. So, and currently the EMS division is run by Battalion Chief Masters, who's here every third day. So, was in today doing an EMS order because we're using more equipment. So he comes in on his day off as well. So,
When you say battalion level, he's employed by Volusia County?
no, he's one of ours.
Oh, he's one of ours,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he's one of ours. And again, the request for a staff assistant, just to give some assistance to the fire marshal's office and to Robin. And then capital requests, like I told you before, replace engine 67. And unfortunately, fire trucks are becoming ridiculous amount of money anymore. So a basic fire engine like the one that's over there now is that we paid, $400,000 for, 10, 12 years ago is now $953,000. So replaced with the 4 cardiac monitors that I mentioned, and then looking to replace the Kubota. That thing has been in the city for many, many, many years. I found it behind McDalia's shop. It was an old meter reader Kubota that they drove around and read the meters that they haven't done in years. Had some flat tires and stuff, and I acquired it and put a paint job on it and put some new tires on it. And we've used it for several years now, so it's getting kind of worn out.
So what's the FD use that for?
We use it for parades. We use it for the Manatee Festival. We use it for firework events. We use it in DeBerry as well. We use it for a bunch of stuff going out to Duck Lake. We've used it for some body recovery out of the lake. We also use it for brush fires and stuff like that. So, and getting to the trailhead. See, the problem is if you call 911, the county doesn't go out there, we do. So we have to go down the trailhead at Blue Springs.
So it has less of a firefighting application, it has more like off-road use
Yeah,
to
correct.
get to
correct.
somewhere?
The current one does not have any firefighting application at all. It was a Kubota that we got from the meter reader, but it gave us the ability to get down these places that we can't take a fire.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
I think that's it. Quick enough, right?
Yes,
I
excellent,
told you,
excellent.
Wayne used up all my time.
Ah,
So I had
that
to make
was
mine
great.
Smaller.
All right, anyone have any questions, comments for Ronnie? Ronnie, thank you very much, good job. Thank you for staying within the time limit. Okay, let's move on now to citizens' comments. Now, I've got one for the historic preservation. You want to do that when we call that item, Mr. Idell?
No, no.
Okay, go ahead, you're up first then.
I'm Idell, 339 East University Avenue. Good evening. Tonight I'm speaking out on an abundance of concern for the planned changes to the scope of the authority of the Historic Preservation Board. At the last meeting, when these changes were read, they were accompanied by a memo from Becky Mendez that essentially said, and I'm paraphrasing, everything was fine until the board decided to decline the demolition request. I want to reiterate that we were doing our job. And our job per code, we review the requests and we weigh them against criteria. And then we render a decision. It seems though the working relationship between the volunteer board and the city staff deteriorated at that point. We even had council members state, from the dais, can't we talk about this? And, but nothing ever happened. Council and staff showed no interest in making an informed decision. And now I feel like the city staff has chosen to challenge the rules, move the goalposts. In fact, Becky's memo seemed to set up a retaliatory move for the council to change the code and make the Historic Preservation Board toothless. It's been a disappointment to see the decline in decorum among this body. People are being told to shut up. People are being told you've said enough. People are being told you've been in City Hall. What are you doing in City Hall? Stay out. From here, from this podium. And it's when the Historic Preservation Board welcomed the guest speaker, she was treated very rudely and openly on the record. But I don't want to dwell on these things. Rather, I'd like to ask you a few questions. What is Orange City's vision for the future? What kind of community do we want? Should other appointed boards see the handwriting on the walls and get ready to be merely ceremonial? Or do we just want to be a concrete jungle? We want to keep building everything around us and do away with what we have. I asked the council, do you want to be forever known as the group who led the effort to discard Orange City's historic district and her structures? Do we want to be the ones that are doing that? And as you run for re-election or for higher office, know that these decisions will come back and haunt you.
Thank you, sir. I've got a couple here for tobacco-free parks. Do you want to speak now or when we bring that item up?
Now would be fine.
Okay, come on up then. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is John Tosi. Did you say my address, sir?
Yes, please.
My address is 4488 De Leon Springs. My name is John Tosi. I'm here from Tobacco Free Florida, Civic Communications, and Tobacco Free Volusia. And I know the council is going to be talking about Tobacco Free Parks policy and the grant through Tobacco Free Florida. It can pay for this signage for the parks if they do so choose to want them. We've been getting them for Edgewater, who passed the policy, DeLand passed the policy. They're ordering about 50. Each city's ordering about 50. The customization they're getting is putting the ordinance number right down here. So that's something we can do. Saves some money, and they seem to enjoy it. It takes a while to get them. They got to go through reviews and all that through the Bureau. So, we're in touch with the Parks and Rec Director, and Tobacco Free Volusia is. So, if a policy is eventually passed, that's something we can provide for you, if you so wish.
Great. They look very good.
Yeah, this is aluminum. They're permanent signs, 12 by 18. There is some flexibility in what kind of signage that you want, but the Bureau does maintain very rigid control over any kind of signage they're going to pay for, so they're going to want to take a look at everything and to have their media team go over it. But this is an example of a pre-approved template that we are providing.
Super. Very nice. Good quality.
Thank you.
All right. Marco Larson?
Yeah, I'm actually here because I'm kind of against that ordinance because I think that it's a public park and people who pay taxes have a right to be there, and it's not really something that should be illegal. It's a huge park. If I'm smoking on one side of the park, you're not even going to smell it. You're not even going to know. And if I'm paying my taxes that helps pay for that public park, I think I have a right to be in that public park. And if I'm doing something that's not illegal in a public park, I think I probably have a right to continue doing that. Like, don't we have personal choices about this? If you don't want to go to a park where somebody is smoking, we got like 5 of them right next to each other. You can go to Veterans Memorial Park. You can go to Dickinson Park. You can go to Mill Lake Park. You can go to the park for skating. Are we gonna have to make a park for smoking only? What about people who can't smoke in their own homes or their own environments and they have to go somewhere else? Would you rather they just smoke in their car in an abandoned parking lot or something? Or would you rather them go to a well-lit public park? I just think that, because it's also you don't have to be right there if someone's smoking. We have so many huge parks that are there for everybody to enjoy. I don't smoke tobacco. My dad quit smoking tobacco. But if he still was, I think he has a right to smoke in his own town. Am I allowed to smoke while walking down the street then? What if I'm walking to the park? Am I allowed to smoke there? Is it limited to the perimeters of the park? I just feel like it's something where we don't need to be banning it because a guy who doesn't even live here thinks we should. Well, that was my 2 cents as a tax-paying citizen who also tries his best to help support those parks. Like, if this was just something for just the kids' parks, because we have multiple parks for children. We have multiple parks that have playgrounds. Yeah, sure, ban smoking there, same way you do for schools. But if it's a public park for everybody that has, like, what, one spot for kids? Well, why are we banning smoking there? If that's a park for the adults to also enjoy, don't they deserve to enjoy it too? That's what I think.
Thank you. Thomas Hewitt, you're up. It's a fact.
My name is Tom Hewitt. I live at 1060 Tappan Circle. I am also a member of the Historic Preservation Board. Council members, staff, adversarial and objective, involving two people or two sides who oppose each other, of, relating to, or characteristics of an adversary or adversarial procedures. City Council last meeting said that the Historic Preservation Board worked well with each other until it became adversarial. This was because of a denial that the Historic Preservation Board was backed into a corner and could not approve a permit under criteria set forth in our Code of Ordinances. When doing our due diligence to research and give the City Council our reasoning behind this, staff, I felt, worked diligently behind us to tear our position apart instead of helping to guide us and answer the questions that we asked. So yes, both sides were adversarial. When we asked for a clarification on decisions, none were given. When asked for a meeting to discuss, none were given. And time was available under the Florida Sunshine Law for this to occur before the before the appeal for our denial. There was plenty of time. Okay? The City Council and all city boards work on behest of the citizens of this city. Now, I know several of us on the Historic Board went out and asked questions to members of Orange City about it. Some of us worked on our own time as private citizens. And as private citizens, we reserve the right to redress our government at any time or any way, as long as we do it legally, and we expect our government not to hold it against us. But has that happened? Apparently, what y'all want in this new thing is a yes board.
Time.
Not a board who will question decisions.
Thank you, sir. Jeff Albach.
Good evening. My name's Jeff Allebeck, 482 West Holly Drive, and I'm not up here for any contention or adversary. That was good words, huh? I'm here representing the Manatee Festival and want to say thank you to the city of Orange City for the support and efforts. And as you know, the Manatee Festival has been around a long time and raised a few dollars for the community. If you look, we're a community fundraiser, you know, so part of what I wanted to do and come up during and say thank you, and also present a couple of checks to some groups that are in the city that we give back directly. These are not every cause that we help support, just kind of Orange City-esque, if you will. And of course, there's always the effort to be in front of you. And when you're thinking about the line items in the council's budget that are coming up, and that you should leave them there. So I want to say thank you. I did get some people, and they had to stay here a long time. I told them, hey, come to the meeting, I'll give you a check at 6:30. I didn't know they'd have to be here for 2 hours to get it. But hell, they learned a lot about municipal government and what it takes to provide services. So I'm going to say thank you to, I'll just start. Bill Crippen and Georgia Carter with River of Lakes. They do the, what do you call them, Bill? The kiosks? The interpretive panels, if you remember from, so I'm going to just quickly throw, because I only get 3 minutes.
40 seconds.
And you're about out of time.
I'm running out of time, but for all you that know me, so I want to then invite up the Orange City Fire Cadets. And I guess Chief Long's coming up. We're donating to that group because they help us out, and of course we want to help out the community. So there you go, Ronnie, and give that to. And the police cadets. We keep calling them the VIP Explorers, but I guess when you hand them a big enough check, you can call them anything but late for dinner. Right, Heather? So I want to say thank you. And I also want to encourage that the DARE program has been funded by the Manatee Festivals ever since I started in 1995, and it was confirmed during the hour-long report from Chief Miller.
It's coming back.
I got you back.
That the DARE program will kick off at least at Manatee Cove. And with a couple of phone calls, we'll get Orange City to realize how it's important. And so the Manatee Festival pays for all the books and the shirts and things they buy, so that's part of it. And that's why I'm here. Sorry for running over, but I'm playing the Parkinson's card that I can't talk as fast as I used to.
You did talk a lot and fast.
Yes, so I want to say thank you. Glad we could support you, and thank you for helping us and doing good work, because the River of Lakes Corridor is doing things to help show our culture and our environment, because like we say from the Manatee Festival, we were green before it was cool, when we used to not have the help and support. So thank you very much, and we look forward to another year, some big changes that we're thinking of for the 40th annual Manatee Festival. And I'm sure I'm going to bring this up because I won't know if I'll make it to the end of the meeting. Mr. Mayor, where did you go last week?
Orange City.
In Iowa, I think,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And they were excited about it exchanging because they have a community event which ties their area together like the Manatee Festival ties our area together. And it's called Tula Festival from what you told me. So we're connected to Orange City, Iowa because of the Manatee Festival and well-known throughout the world because of the manatees, right, Miss Carter?
That's right.
All right. So celebrate, be positive and happy, and let's not be adversarial. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on from the citizens' comments to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second? Kaylee?
Councilmember Papello,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson,
Yes.
Councilmember Stafford,
Yes.
Councilmember Grimm,
Yes.
Councilmember Marks,
Yes.
Councilmember Darms,
Yes.
Mayor Blair.
Yes, and the consent agenda passes. We'll move on to item number 5, ordinances first reading. 5A, ordinance number 680. Mr. Reichman, will you read that one, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. This is the ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orange City, Florida, amending Chapter 10.5 Parks and Recreation, Article 2, use restrictions of the City of Orange City Code of Ordinances, adding a new section 10.524 prohibiting smoking and vaping in city parks, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, codification, providing for an effective date. It's a legislative matter, Mr. Mayor, council members, and this is first reading.
What was the last part?
This is legislative as opposed to quasi-judicial, and this is the first reading.
Okay, great, thank you.
There is a PowerPoint presentation.
Good evening, Migdalia Hernandez, Public Services Director. While we find the presentation, I want to let you know that one of the original citizen that came to the meeting submitted an email to the council. I think it was to the mayor, right? She cannot be here, but she wants. Are you gonna read that one, sir?
I don't think I have that. And Kaylee, do I have that letter?
I've received a copy.
Oh, they'll receive a copy. Great.
I can pull it up. I'll do it when
Okay,
he
good.
calls
Okay,
for
perfect.
public.
Okay.
So tonight, we're here to ask council to approve the City Code of Ordinances number 680, the first reading for the Parks and Recreation Article 2, Chapter 10.5 amendment. The reason for this code amendment is we know that the Florida statute, Section 386-209, preempts regulation of smoking to the state and supersede any county or municipal ordinances. However, they are giving the county and municipalities a chance to further restrict smoking within the city boundaries or of any public beaches or public parks that we own, except that they may not further restrict the smoking of unfiltered cigars. So a little bit of the background on this ordinance first reading request is that the March 26, 2024, the citizens, Jody Williams, I think she's the one who submitted the email to us. Mr. Bill Crippen, he's here.
Was?
Oh, he
Outside.
was. He
He's
left.
outside.
Yeah. Okay, he's outside. And Susie Peace
I'm just kidding.
asked the council to place an item on the upcoming meeting to discuss creating this ordinance prohibiting smoking and vaping in all city parks. As per the council direction, we look around to see who have this type of ordinances and we review them. Then we discuss them with the city's attorney who draft what you have today on your hands to be approved. And they also recommended some language to be added with the new section. So the new section reads as follows. The new section should be 10.5-24, smoking and vaping prohibited. Smoking is prohibited within the city parks. The use of any vapor-generating device is prohibited in city parks. Smoking and vapor-generating device shall have the same meaning in this article as those terms, I'm sorry, this is too blue for me, are defined in the Florida Statute 386.203 as may be amended from time to time. This subsection is enacted pursuant to the authority provided in the Florida Statute 386.209. The use of a filtered cigar shall not be prohibited by this section. So hopefully I read it right. I can barely see it. So if this ordinance is approved, we will work on the proper signage, and we will show you the signage before we use them. So with that, staff recommends council approval of ordinance number 680, first reading, which amend the chapter 10.5, adding the section 10.5-24, smoking and vaping prohibited.
Anyone? Ms. Marks?
I have a couple questions. My first question was why was the cigars allowed but nothing else?
Good question.
Good question. They'll may know.
One word, lobbyists.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the only way I can explain
Yeah.
it.
So that's the state of Florida who allowed us to regulate. They withheld the ability to allow municipalities to ban unfiltered cigars. And I agree with Bill that it was the tobacco industry lobbyists. Believe it or not,
To
cigar-
ban? Because I thought it said to allow.
So
The-
what you,
We
They
may
allow.
not ban.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, now I
unfiltered
understand.
cigar.
Ban.
Right.
That
Right.
was withheld
Yeah.
from the allowance to ban.
you
We
think of
may
it this
not.
way.
Yeah.
Where we started before the recent amendment up in Tallahassee is that we were completely preempted from regulating smoking, as it's defined in the state statutes.
Okay.
So then, from that, they gave us back the ability to regulate smoking and vaping in city parks and other places. For purposes of Orange City, the relevant parts were the parks, city-owned parks. So there was an exception to the preemption, but then they created an exception to the exception, which was unfiltered cigars. They still, for whatever reason, felt that that needed to be preempted. So again,
Silly.
but the point is, we're going, this ordinance seeks to take, to take advantage, if you will, of what we, if the council wishes to, take advantage of what we now have the power to regulate, if it's the desire of the elected officials in Orange City.
So I have a couple concerns. First of all, how are we going to police this? You know, if we put this in place, that's just one more thing for the police to do. I'd rather them be out there, catching the bad guys than worrying about this. That's one of my concerns. The second one is, I don't want to be communist. I don't want to hold everything over. I want clean air too, and I don't like to be around smokers. I'm not a smoker. But I think, like one of the constituents said, they're big parks, but I'm always up for a compromise. I'm thinking, I ask people, and it's these people want it and these people don't want it. You can't please everybody. I understand that. But is there a compromise? Maybe some of the parks be where it's banned. The ones that the kids are playing in, but maybe the ones that are gigantic, it seems kind of silly. We can't police it. The cigar thing just blows my mind about that they would allow that, because they're the stinkiest things around, cigars. They're annoying, but I grew up in a home with lots of cigarettes, and I don't like them. But I just feel like when people go to the park, they go there to exercise or whatever they may do. But I don't see people on top of people smoking it, and blowing it around them. And, I've walked the park several times in the mornings, and it just seems silly to put another law on the citizens. I think it should be their personal choice.
Well, let me try to address one of your questions, Councilmember, and that is, how is it enforced? And it would be enforced like any other regulation within our city parks, and that is already provided for in our regulations of city parks, to be found at section 10.520, which is enforcement, which reads, the city police department and park attendants shall, in connection with their duties imposed by law, diligently enforce the provisions of this article, which, if you adopted this ordinance, would be included in this Article 10.5, and shall have the authority to order any person or persons acting in violation of this article to leave the park or recreation area. So that creates the jurisdiction, the ability, the legal ability for those city officials to take action against violators of this regulation. Penalties, that's in section 10.521. Unless otherwise provided, any person, firm, or corporation violating any provisions of this article, which we've talked about, shall be fined not more than $500 for each offense, and a separate offense shall be deemed committed on each day during or which a violation occurs or continues. So you have it already in your code, a tool, if you will, to enforce this. If it's the council's desire to move forward with adding this regulation to the use of your city parks.
Alex?
I'm sort of on the fence on this, but if the person that is from the other city is still here, that was advocating this,
Yeah, she's here.
do you guys, because I think I have an answer for this, but the exclusion of cigars, what is the reason for that? If you have an insight on it.
Ma'am, you got to come and speak in
Yeah,
the
just
microphone,
give us
please.
your-
State your name and address.
The name for the record, organization.
Hello, everyone. My name is Susie Peace, and I actually live in DeLand, but I'm a member of the Tobacco-Free Volusia Group, and we're advocating this in all the cities and eventually the county. I do know the reason why they are allowing unfiltered cigars. One, they're unfiltered, and the filter part of the cigarette and the cigar, the little plastic tips and the filters, are bad for the environment. They have the cigarette filters take 25,000 years to biodegrade. So anyway, that's the reason for that. But the unfiltered cigars is because one of the legislators owned a cigar shop down in South
So you
Florida,
just verified that. That's what I thought was
and
the
he
situation.
would not vote for the the new
Makes it pretty
bill.
subjective.
Yes.
Number one. Okay, so that's the thank you very much for answering my question. So that's the essence, I think, of that, is that I smoked an early part of my life, and I stopped completely when I joined the Marine Corps, because if you all know, in the service, you're policing up your area, you're picking up everybody else's cigarette butts, and I hated it. I hated it with a passion. And the problem with cigarette smokers is, I'm not painting everybody with a wide brush, but they're tossing those cigarette butts all over the place. Bad for animals, bad for the environment, bad for our soil, bad for our grass, bad for the fish, bad for our lakes. So with that, I would say yes, let's ban it. But still, the same token, it's not against the law to smoke cigarettes. And like Mr. Marks was saying, there should be maybe some sort of compromise to please everybody. I'm for banning it in a couple parks that the majority, if we can do a study, majority are visited or used by kids, and then the rest, really?
Be adults.
Yeah, let's be adults. If you know, I smoke cigars once in a while. I'll smoke a tobacco pipe once in a while. And I think with cigar smokers and me, well, not with a tobacco pipe because it smells very good, but with the cigars, if you're offending others, don't be around them, or don't be around people who are smoking cigars. Just kind of find each other's way away from each other is my solution. But I think that this parks are big enough, and I do think that those cigarette butts, and they're making it bad for people who do put them on those butt cans, are ruining for the rest of the people that are smoking the cigarettes. So, yeah, I would approach it with a compromise and not just a blanket no smoking. That's the way I look at it.
Anybody else have anything? I like it the way it is, and regardless of how. Oh, did you? Okay. Regardless of how big the park is, I've been walking around Mill Lake, and if someone's sitting on a bench, I'm asthmatic. I go right through that cloud and I breathe it in. You know, and it's not only tobacco, it's other things that are being smoked out there. We don't allow alcohol in the parks. There's a reason for that. It's legal, right, for adults to drink alcohol, but we
Not in the
ban it
park.
in the parks. So I think the parks are a place of recreation and for the environment and things like that. And the cigarette butts are horrible, and you can go right down Holly Avenue there. And there's one particular place that I will share later that there are piles of cigarette butts, and it's really disgusting, and it's very bad for the environment. It'll get into the stormwater drains and so forth.
The other issue that is out there is the batteries from the vaping. There is no way the landfills are having a hard time managing how they're going to dispose of those batteries. So it's a big movement out there. In fact, I was part of a grant application with the county, seeing what we can do to educate the people, because it's becoming a problem.
Right.
You know, and also, if Amendment 3 passes next year, they'll be smoking more than cigarettes in the parks, and the children are going to be susceptible to that smoke too, so I think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, so I'm in favor of just keeping it out of the parks. If people want to smoke, they can do it at home. Yes?
I mean, if that happens, we could always revisit this if that happens. But as far as the cigarette butts, we have people that clean all our parks. We have volunteers that pick up
It's not
once a
not
month.
their job. I mean, it's great that they do it, but I think it's putting the burden on other people that don't smoke.
I just feel like we need to be a little more friendly with the residents that are paying their taxes and say, please don't smoke in the park, not you can't smoke in the park. You know, put the responsibility back on them.
Well, it's like fishing in the park, okay?
still do it.
They will stand there and fish right by the sign that says no fishing. Ms. Arrington?
Yes, I did want to take an opportunity to address Ms. Mark's question, which is how are you going to enforce this? Aside from the legal verbiage of it. Should you decide to adopt this ordinance, we will be calling a staff meeting to go over the best practices on that with an aim of making it friendly. And of course, one of my concerns is what do we do when we have 5,000 strangers come to our parks who may not be familiar with our rules during special events? I previously discussed this with Bill, and he believes that we can look at the park area and the parking area as two separate areas and set up perhaps a designated smoking area that is in a corner.
Good idea.
Or is somewhere, you know, not in the middle of the field where you've got tons of people milling around. You know, so that we don't have to ask people to go out in the street during nighttime or heavy congestion periods and subject themselves to an unsafe situation should they need to smoke a cigarette. So, you know, we're going to have some discussion on that. And it would be our intent to, you know, adopt it in a fair manner and enforce it fairly to all. You know, first giving people warnings they may not know and asking them to.
Well, and that was another thing that I had written down was maybe there should be designated areas where you can only smoke. So that way, when the mayor's walking down the path, he doesn't have to go through that cloud. He knows over there is smoking, not over here where I'm walking or something like that. And that's what I meant by a compromise. So sounds
Away
like
from the common area.
And if you did that,
Just
have one of
saying.
those butt pails set up. Hopefully they would use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think it's most important during special events that, you know, when we're very congested at our parks. So.
Okay, any further comments? Anyone from the public want to speak on this? Come on up.
Yeah, so first of all, the phrasing of that is so vague that it does not belong to tobacco-free Florida anymore.
I hate
Because
to ask,
vape-
but we need to identify ourselves.
yes,
Sorry
first.
about
absolutely.
that. My name is Marco Larson. I live at 439 East French Avenue. I live in Orange City, Florida. Because there's a lot of vapes that don't have anything in them. They are just water. There's no tobacco, there's no weed, there's no heroin or whatever you're imagining. It's just water. Why are we banning water vapor on top of that? 2, I find it low-key insulting to say you care about the environment while destroying every piece of free environment that we have out there. When you put out those butts, like the containers to put the cigarette butts in, from what I've seen personally, most people, they do follow that, and they do put them in there. There's a way that we can do this to where we can keep those parks clean and also not take away people's personal liberties because it inconveniences Gary Blair.
Please don't make personal attacks.
Sorry about that. I retract my comment. It's just something where you don't have to ban it because you personally don't like it. Especially if there's a way to do it that doesn't even like hurt or affect you in any way. Why do we have Corey Mills Park? We have a skate park because years and years ago, I don't even know if it was people on this council, but we pushed kids out of our parks. We pushed them into the streets and they died. So we had to put up a new skate park. Are we pushing smoking people into the street to kill them now? Or are we going to give them a safe place to recreationally smoke? Are we pushing people into the street, or are we letting them into the public parks that they paid for with their taxes? That is my statement. Please and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Hi, I'm Narita Williamson, and I live at 811 Gunnison Drive. And I go along with what Kelly Marks is saying, that I think we should just have a designated area, and therefore the police won't have to get involved. Because I feel right now Chief Miller's already telling us that he's down 4 staff. Adding to that is going to just create more problems. And I walk at Mills Park, and we have the no fishing signs, and people are fishing every day when I'm out there. So I think adding something else to that is just going to create more problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Mayor,
Capella?
may I?
Yes.
Thank you. This is an important subject that could easily have a lot of unintended consequences. I believe that there is a opportunity for this city to embrace a movement that I believe most of the citizens would appreciate, and that is to have a park system that was free of that type of interaction. Now, I do believe we have some legitimate concerns that have been brought up by others about the enforcement, the actual function of such rulemaking will open the opportunity for a lot of potential interaction that would not necessarily be pleasant for folks who want to break rules, even though there is a sign. So rules are only as good as the folks who follow them. Unintended consequences. I do believe in the concept of having clean air and having folks being able to enjoy that space. But people, citizenry, do smoke. And if you have large events, as the city manager has spoke to, where you are gathering thousands of folks, and you do not offer an alternative, and you have rules on the books are they to be enforced? And if they're not to be enforced, what's the point of the rules? So where do we find that middle ground? Where do we find the best approach, the balanced approach, the approach that really serves the community? The community does want the opportunity to be in the park and be free of pollution. And if we can enforce that or afford opportunities for such a thing, then we need to do the work. Will it open a whole Pandora's box? Yes. Every time we make any kind of rule, what is the unintended consequence? What's past the arc of a great idea? But we need to be thoughtful about that. And I think there's some opportunity to create designation areas for smoking or very specific designation areas where we don't, like where there are, if we are only concerned about children, I think that's missing the intent. Because I think every age group doesn't need to be exposed to pollution. And personal responsibility is something that we should all, engage in. But we should have a balance when we're making rules to recognize that there are people who, should be afforded the opportunity to enjoy the park, even if they smoke. So where is that? I like the gist of this. I think that this is something that we can get to, but we definitely going to have to get to in terms with, is this something we're actually going to enforce? Or are we just going to talk about it, feel good about it, put it on the rules, and then ignore it? Then what's the point? And if we have that challenge of having to enforce it, what is a balanced approach? What is the alternative that we can provide for very specific incidences?
Well, let me, if I could respond to some of this. Staff's going to need some direction from this council because the way that this ordinance is drafted is relatively yes or no. It's one way or the other way. This is not, if you will, based upon the conversation I've heard this evening, a compromise. This is taking full advantage of the removal of the preemption that previously existed in the state statutes. And what it says is there's no smoking of tobacco products and there's no smoking of vaping products as those are defined in the statute, and there is a definition for those. It is not ambiguous. It is not vague. It's very clear in the statutes. So if this council wants to say, well, maybe some parks should not have smoking, for lack of a better term, but other parks there should be smoking, that's fine. I don't see a reason in the statute you can't do that. But that's not what this ordinance does. And if you want to have some parks that allow it in a certain place, then this ordinance doesn't do that either. So staff needs direction. If you don't want to do this ordinance, because this is clean, there's no smoking in city parks. That's pretty straightforward. Now, the enforcement, which I read earlier, is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to argue with you, council member, that there could be, at the beginning of the enforcement of this, some confrontations. Absolutely. But I just want to make sure it's clear to this council. If you're going to vote yes on this, you're voting yes to outlaw smoking in city parks. If you vote no, then give us direction on what you want.
Okay. Go ahead.
I am very concerned about designated areas in city parks for allowing smoking. It, I think, will make it more difficult on day-to-day implementation than either to have a yes or a no answer on your day-to-day use of city parks. To tell a person when he's there, with a group of friends that you can't smoke in this area, but you could go 100 feet over there and smoke in a designated area, I think people will have a very hard time understanding that on a day-to-day basis. I know during COVID times, our parks were used by Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, and they used pavilions, and they were horrible smokers. One group of them was. And, you know, I don't know how you would allow one area and put it in stone as your smoking area and not, and just disallow it on others. It, I think, would be very cumbersome to enforce 365 days a year. Providing an exception to a rule during an occasional event, I think, makes an allowance for the activity that you're attempting to prohibit for health's sake, whether children's or adults, instead of putting it in stone that you are allowing it in a specific area.
Mr. Mayor.
So, you know, just as a staff person, I think it will be difficult to enforce that.
I'd like to comment on that.
Yes.
I disagree. So why would it be hard to enforce saying you can do it in just this area? You're going to put a sign up in all the parks saying you can't smoke in the whole park. Why can't you put a sign up saying this is your designated area?
Well, you can.
So
That
it's no
is it.
different, to me, it's no different
I
to.
think the argument is different, that people will use to retaliate. And it is, I understand, and it's just an area where we may have a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
I just think it's more difficult to explain to a person, you can only do that over there, than it is to say, we're trying really hard to not allow smoking in our parks. So that's my opinion on the enforcement of it. And then figuring out where in each park people will be allowed to sit and smoke is going to be a difficult decision. I'm not sure it's one that I think staff should probably make it, and we'll need to buy the additional park furniture, you know, the benches and maybe their own pavilion or
I tend
or
to agree
other
with,
items.
I tend to agree with Councilman Papello with there has to be a balance, right? You said that, here's the thing. I've asked several people, and it's been a mixed bag. You know, you're going to have half of the residents screaming at us because we did this, because we're using our powers at B to do this. And it just seems like, put an area there. We're asking you to go there and smoke. If you don't, then there will be a consequence of $500. But if you want to walk around the park and smoke, and or if you want to walk around the park and smoke, there's going to be a $500 fine. But if you go over in that area, then we're not going to bother you. But if you break the law, then we're going to give you a fine. And I think that's a good balance to our residents to say, we're not holding the gavel here saying you can't smoke in the parks, because that just seems like we have too much power up here against life. I mean, it's life. The tobacco companies are going crazy. I do not like cigarettes. I don't like smoke in my face either, Mayor. I just think that we need to make an area for them to be, and maybe in all the parks. I listen to what you said, Anthony. It's maybe it's not just kids, it's all people, right? Because I know your wife has asthma, and a lot of people have asthma in the world, so they don't want to smell that. They can't breathe, right? So if they're in a designated area, then, for example, she knows not to go near there because she has to breathe. And I think that's just a personal choice that we should not take away from the residents.
So what's next? Do we have designated drinking areas where people can
No,
come and drink
tobacco
alcohol?
is legal. Drinking
Well,
is not
so-
legal.
Well, no, alcohol is legal for
Not in a
adults.
park.
Why?
You can-
Because there's an ordinance against it.
Right. But it's
fine.
against the law to be public drinking too, right? Am I wrong?
Yes.
I'm not sure if there is a state, you're referencing, is there the existence of a state statute that prohibits someone from drinking an alcoholic beverage in a public park? I'm not sure, Chief, or is there?
It's a city ordinance.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
that is the distinction. So in this case, I'm going to agree with the mayor.
Yeah.
And that is that we prohibit by ordinance at this time drinking of alcoholic beverages in our city parks. So we're telling the general population that in our parks, the public property, you can't drink. This ordinance would add to that. In public property owned by the city of Orange City, now you can't drink and you can't smoke.
Correct, but I think when you drink alcohol, it has effects on you that could be a safety issue
I'm
to
just
other residents.
dealing with the legal issue that you raised, council member, as far as the distinction between alcohol and cigarettes. Both of these would be something, one that already exists, the prohibition already exists in your code now. The other you're talking about tonight, adding to it.
All right, Ms. Stafford? No, I'll come back to you.
I hear everyone, I really do. But what we're not looking at, because if you have not yet had a family member to die of lung cancer that was never a smoker, but from other people's smoke, you wouldn't understand it. You wouldn't understand it. The schools don't allow their teachers to smoke on campus nowadays. They have to go across the street. You know, what make our public parks, those are public schools, any difference? Why would we want to impede on another person's health? Whether it's a child, whether it's an adult, whomever it is, dog, cat, whatever, because they also get into all of this. We need to think about, and this is what we're no longer doing, thinking about another human being. That's all I got to say.
Mr. Thompson?
I hate cigarette smoking with a passion. That being said, I think historically our public parks are used by the citizens a long time ago as a place to express themselves. It's supposed to be a public forum for people who have something to say. That to me was the essence of a public park is, what a public park is. I'm not comfortable, and Mr. Reichman already made it clear, this is either yes or no.
Under this ordinance.
Under this ordinance. I'm not comfortable with a blanket, no smoking for everybody. And I hate seeing the cigarette butts, and I wish I could say, just on that, ban it. I just hate cigarette butts with a passion. My dad used to smoke, and I remember watching TV and him laying on the floor with Benson and Hedges, one after the other. And it probably made a detriment to my health that's going to affect me in the future. But people have their rights. As much as the individual came up here to speak, I mean, she pays her taxes. And unless you're going up to people and blowing smoke in their face, I think statistically, smoking has gone down anyway. I still think that education is the way to go. My kids aren't smoking like I had the propensity to do when I was younger, because they know it's a health. There's nothing good comes out of burning stuff and introducing it to your body. That's basically, it's bad for you. Now there's new vaping thing that they've got to get educated on that also, and that's not good for you either. But that's the recidivism on that needs to be from education, not taking people's individual rights. And unless we're open to designated areas, no, I'm not comfortable with a blanket yes or no. So I'll probably say no for now, and then we could have staff that could look at designated areas or just one or two parks that just completely smoke free. If you want to spend time there, spend time there. If you want to go to a smoking park, go to a smoking park. That's in the future.
Ms. Darms?
This is kind of a double-edged sword for me, because when I first read this, the thing with the cigar really annoyed me. I'll tell you why. I lived with two smoking parents for about 20-something years till I got married, and then I married someone who smoked Camels. And in those days, you didn't go outside to smoke. You smoked in the house. So I did the second, people don't talk about secondhand smoke. It's horrible. You heard me coughing before? That's my COPD. That's my emphysema, which turned from asthma at 18 to now I suffer with coughing and emphysema. If I'm waiting to pay for my bill and there's somebody in front of me that smells smoke, I have to move. When I used to work in a call center, if somebody sat next to me and they smelled like smoke, I had to pick up and sit somewhere else. Now, okay, parks are wide open, but we've had all of these festivals and everything, and everybody's kind of walking like this because it's crowded. That's what we want. We want people to come. Now, if I walk by somebody and that smoke is hitting me, I can't handle it. So this is a double-edged sword because, yeah, I mean, if we designate an area for smoking, then of course I know I ain't going over there. But, yeah, then I understand those that do smoke are having an issue with it. That's why I call this a double-edged sword. So I'm the same way. Which way do we really go here? And I don't know if I want to be in an environment where that park's okay to smoke, but that park ain't okay to smoke. So for me, as somebody that's going to have to vote on this, it's a bit of a perplexing situation. But that's how I've been looking at this, listening to everybody's comments, and now, Lisa, well, what you're saying. I mean, I've been blessed by the grace of God that it did not end up with cancer, but you hear me cough. I sometimes have had to get up to go to the bathroom to cough because I can't sit here for 15 minutes coughing. So if people don't think it's a bad thing, it is, but it's your decision, you know. But I don't think it should be implied on other people, like where you're going to walk through it. So I don't know. I don't know. Do we do the designated areas or don't we? This is not an easy decision. Trust me.
Mr. Graham.
Thanks, Mayor. You know, the parks are for all the residents to enjoy. People that have asthmatic conditions or who don't smoke can't enjoy them. And I truly believe the way these commercials are pushing this Amendment 3, I think come the first year, if this thing gets approved, it's gonna be hell. You'll be able to smell marijuana 5 miles away from the next park. That's my own personal, you know. I just think it's gonna get a lot worse. So if we don't nip it in the bud now, we're gonna be sorry, I think.
Good point. Ms. Marks?
I just wanted to reply to Councilwoman Stafford, what she had said about the schools. When you're at the school, you have to be there. You work there. The kids have to go to school, so they don't have a choice. So they can put that law in there that they don't want you smoking on campus, as many businesses do also, because that's their employees they're protecting, right? All I'm saying is, instead of putting a law yes on this, you always say, let's do some positive things. All I'm saying is, let's put some signs out and ask our residents to comply, not demand them. That's all I'm saying.
Well, other than doing the budget, this council's job is to watch out for the health and the safety of our citizens. And I think this ordinance is a move in the right direction to do that. It's my personal feeling. So we've beaten this up pretty good. Let's move on it one way or the other. Someone wants to make a motion, or?
I'll make a motion that we accept it.
Okay.
Read.
We got a motion?
Second.
We got a second? Kaylee?
Vice Mayor Tiampson.
Oh, great. That's going to be a no for me for now.
Councilmember Stafford.
Yes.
Councilmember Grimm.
Yes.
Councilmember Marks.
No.
Councilmember Darms.
I wish I could abstain. Yeah, yes.
Councilmember Papello.
Yes.
Mayor Blair.
Yes. And ordinance 680 passes at the first reading. Let's move on to 5B, ordinance number 681. Mr. Reichman, will you read that one, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the title of this ordinance is as follows. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orange City, Florida, amending the Historic Preservation Program as established in the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 3, Historic Preservation Board, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. As before, this is the first reading of a legislative act.
Thank you, Mr. Reichman. Becky Mendez, Development Services Director.
Yes, good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
So we are here this evening. Our previous, City Council's previous actions started in January 2023 of this year, which was first reading of a certificate of appropriateness ordinance that expanded the Historic Preservation Board program. It impacted additional properties and had additional regulations. It was continued a couple of times to the May 14th meeting, of which the City Council denied the ordinance at second and final reading and directed staff to bring back a new ordinance that would move the Historic Preservation Board's authority from being able to take final action on major demolition permits or determinations of neglect, demolition by neglect determinations, to an advisory role, which this is similar and mirrors our other boards, advisory boards, the Planning Commission included. So this board would mirror the rest of the boards, and City Council gets to take final action. The city attorney, the version of the ordinance that's in your agenda package was reviewed by the city attorney last week, late last week. So I provided hard copies. It's really, there's no substantive changes to the version that was attached to the agenda item and published last week. It's mostly housekeeping items and legal sufficiency. But if you have any questions, we can go into more detail regarding those changes. So generally, let's put, again, back into context of what we're talking about when we talk about the Historic Preservation Program. The historic area, I fondly call it the blue box, which was, it's a 1 square mile. It's the original city boundary. It was established in 1997. It's 1,115 acres. 2,000 structures are located within that blue box. 700 of them are 50 years old or older. Inside, completely within the blue box area, is the National District. The Historic Preservation Board and City Council started working on designating that historic National District. Probably around 96 is when they started it, 1998. It wasn't until 2004 that the district was actually established. That was a voluntarily listed, property owners came and spoke to the city council. Many opted out of the district, and it was purely voluntary that they were included within that district. There's 146 properties which are contributing structures. Those contributing structures to the National District are also listed on the Florida Master Site File. The Florida Master Site File lists approximately 193 properties, and they really are kind of spread out all over. The majority of them are the contributing structures to the National District, but there are some that have been listed that are outside of the 1997 blue box area. So let's talk about the amended program. First and foremost, the Historic Preservation Board still exists, and it still plays a vital role in the City Council being able to make appropriate decisions regarding Historic Preservation Board. It's a voluntary board, as that has been stated, and they will continue to review the applications that come in just like they do now under the existing regulations, except that it goes on to it. They make a recommendation to City Council, just like your Planning Commission does on a lot of your rezonings and conditional uses for properties of larger size. So this amended program changes different parts and pieces of the ordinance and gives the City Council the final authority to act on the major demolition permits, because remember, minor demolition permits are reviewed at the staff level and staff can issue those. And there's a set of criteria of which we determine what's minor and what's a major demolition permit. The city council will also make the demolition by neglect determinations. It can be initiated by the Historic Preservation Board, and they will do the steps that lead up to making the final determination. They will present that information to the city council for direction. Let's talk a little bit about the applicability. Right now, the Historic Preservation Board program applies to properties that are located within the blue box and listed on the Florida Master Site File. As previously stated, there are Florida Master Site File properties that are listed that are outside of the blue box. And listing on the Florida Master Site File does not require owner authorization, does not require city council deliberation. So anybody living in Orange City or not living in Orange City could place your private property on the Florida Master Site File. There's also not a significance determination. It's you apply, the state of Florida reviews that application, and they assign potentially a listing number, right? The National District is different. The National District, it does require owner authorization, and our code requires that national applications for the national listing would come before the city council, and there is a significance determination when you're looking at those projects. So staff's recommendation and part of this amended program is the applicability and changing it from properties located within the blue box but listed on the National Register, not just simply the Florida Master Site File, right? Definitions. We talked a little bit about that at the last meeting, about the staff's interpretation and implementation of the program. The 2017 ordinance applies to demolitions, and we applied it to even partial exterior renovations of properties, right? Changing out the windows. We talked about that at the last meeting. Staff may have stretched the true definition of demolition as it's defined in the existing code that was adopted in 2017. So to make it clear, the definition staff's recommending that it be revised to include partial demolitions as long as if it's not more than 25% of the exterior facade that's being renovated. So it gives a measurable threshold, if you will, that the ordinance applies to. It was unclear in the existing definition. The definition, we also amended the National Register eligibility requirements. We took those straight out of the National Register requirements and on one of those flyers, and just to be really clear on what properties would or may not be eligible for listing on the National Register. And then we got to the board membership and meetings. So again, during the course of the review for the last city council meeting, the board has bylaws. Staff has brought that item to the Historic Preservation Board in the past, and they have adopted their own set of bylaws. Bylaws are really just a procedural process, if you will, on how the meetings are to be conducted. There's nothing in the actual code of ordinance that requires bylaws that the board has to. Our other boards do require that the Planning Commission adopt bylaws and that those bylaws come to the City Council for approval by resolution. So we're adding that requirement, again, mirroring our other boards. We're just going to place that right into the code. It requires that the Historic Preservation adopt bylaws and they come here for review and approval. We also changed the attendance. The attendance was, again, in the bylaws for the Historic Preservation Board. So no member could miss more than 3 meetings out of any 7 consecutive meetings. And if they did, their absences could be waived by the board. Staff is recommending that those absences, if they exceed the more than 3 out of 7 consecutive meeting dates, that those waiver requests come to City Council to be approved. It also establishes the process for the city council to act as the board in case there is no quorum due to either attendance or membership. We are down one of the members of the board right now. Again, the business impact statement is a new state law. Any ordinance that the city adopts other than the land development code requirements or rezonings must be posted on the web. We posted it on the website on May 17th. This ordinance compared to your certificate of appropriateness ordinance before has zero impact on any of the businesses because there are no additional fees, there's no additional revenue, and it's not increasing the amount of properties that would be impacted by the change. So with that, staff recommends that you approve ordinance 681 at first reading and schedule second and final reading for June 11th.
Thank you, Becky. Anyone have any questions or comments for Becky? Okay, seeing none. Anyone from the public want to speak to this if you haven't spoken already?
Has the ordinance been read or just the proposal?
Come up to the,
This is, I read the title. This is the first reading of the ordinance for the council's consideration, and of course, there'll be another public hearing at second reading.
right, right.
My name is Tom Hewitt, 1060 Tappan Circle. My question is, does the public know what the ordinance says?
Yeah, it's
Well, this has been,
Has it been read for the public to hear it and the changes made?
we're required
in
under
the
Florida.
ordinance?
We're required under Florida law to read twice the title. This ordinance and all, which contains and highlights all the changes, is available to the public in many different avenues and forums. So it would just be incumbent upon any member of the public who wishes to see what the changes are to get on our website. There's a copy that's part of our agenda packet, and there, I believe, are copies available tonight if someone wanted to have to see these changes. As far as Florida law in Chapter 166, city's in full compliance with the requirements for the notification to the public of this ordinance.
And with the changes that you made, are they also listed on public? I can easily pull them up
Yes, sir.
Yep.
today.
Absolutely.
Right now.
They've been available to the public since last Wednesday.
Wednesday of last week.
Okay.
There's also a copy in the binder right here by the door. If you wanted to take a look at it as well.
All right, council, action.
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance number 681 at the first reading.
Got a motion?
A second.
Got a second? Kaylee?
Councilmember Stafford,
Yes.
Councilmember Grimm,
Is that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Yes, sorry, thank you. I'm sure the record was clear.
Yeah, I heard her say yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Marks,
Yes.
Councilmember Jarms,
Yes.
Councilmember Papello,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Blair.
Yes, and ordinance 681 passes. Let's move on to item number 6, public hearing / ordinances, second final reading. We have none at this time. Item number 7, resolutions. We have none at this time. Item number 8, discussion and action. 8A, the second proportionate fair share agreement to mitigate traffic impacts of the crossings planned unit development, PUD, located at 2250 State Road 472. Becky Mendez, Development Services Director.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for saying proportionate fair share. Say that five times
No, I
as
can't.
quickly as you can. That's why I have PFS on a lot of, a lot of these slides. Proportionate fair share is, if you think about it, exactly what it sounds like. The developer is required under state law and our concurrency management code in Orange City to pay their fair share of impacts to the roadway. It's a very complicated formula. Anybody who wants to have a session with me, we can go over transportation concurrency. I think it's fun, but you all may not so much. So the background information, in 2020, the city council adopted the Crossings PUD rezoning. It's located, this is Kentucky on the south side of 472. This is I-4, 472, and then it turns into Veterans Memorial Parkway and then onto Kepler. The road is called multiple different things. In Orange City, it's Kentucky. It's 26 acres. It has a mixed-use activity center, future land use designation. The PUD development agreement allowed approximately up to 45,000 square feet of neighborhood office space, a 100-room hotel, and 288 multifamily units. So we get the trip generation of all of those uses, pass-by trips, internal trip capture. We load those trips onto the network. Something breaks and doesn't meet level of service, it's going to cost $2 million to add capacity to that failing segment. They put only 10% of trips on the new, and we come up with a dollar amount on how much they're supposed to pay, right? And we did that after the rezoning. The next year, the city council approved the prop fair share agreement, totaling $1.7 million in prop fair share contribution. In lieu of paying that directly to Volusia County, they were going to, oh gosh. Sorry, thank you, Kaylee. So in lieu of paying for their prop fair share contribution, they were going to make intersection improvements. If anybody has traveled north during PM peak hour at this intersection, it gets pretty squirrely, right? The turn lane is definitely not long enough. The travel lanes are very small. There's potholes. It's a mess, right? Okay. So, and there's also a vertical curve. So one of the driveway connections onto Kentucky, I wish Bill Crippen was still here. He's not. He had a great, never mind. It's a pothole is a vertical curve or something, or speed bump is a vertical curve. Anyways.
Yeah, speed bump.
Right. So, and they were going to take out that vertical curve so that the driveway connection coming to Kentucky, as people were coming up over the hill from either direction, it wouldn't cause a safety issue. Okay? So instead of paying the 1.7 prop share, they were going to build the infrastructure for that dollar amount. It would be eligible for county transportation impact fee credits. Okay. So let's fast forward 2 years later. Last year, City Council authorized the Dale to write a letter of support to Volusia County because they were looking at extending the extension of Veterans Memorial Parkway. Right now it dead ends into Graves, and they were going to extend it north of Graves and realign it at 472. We wrote a letter of support. We liked alignment B the best. Because here you can see the crossings. It impacted them the least, and we already had a PUD development approval and that access plan approved, right? So that was our recommendation. The Volusia County Council agreed and adopted alignment B. Fast forward now even more months, and they're in the middle of design of this extension. When they move quickly, right? It might take a while to get on to their capital improvements plan, but when it is, they go forward. So staff is under design, right? Volusia County staff is under design right now. Here we have a prop share agreement with the crossings that is going to take out the vertical curve and improve the turn lanes, but only for the section in front of the crossings. Volusia County is going to just do the whole thing, starting from Graves all the way up to the middle here, past the intersection. So the county will be improving turn lanes on the southbound side as well, right? So no sense for and quite frankly, the county can probably do it more quickly and more efficiently because they'll just do the whole thing. So it didn't make sense for the crossings to potentially put those improvements in, and then Volusia County comes behind them and just has to wipe them all out, right? So instead, the county said, hey, we'll do the improvements, you pay us prop share, and you can go. And that is the Florida law, right? You have to be able to pay and go. That has to be an option. I believe that the developers ended up liking that better anyways, because construction, as everybody knows, construction costs were going up. So the 1.7 in prop share wasn't going to really cover the amount of infrastructure they were going to have to do to make their plan work. So that's what the county asked. City staff wholeheartedly supports them as our partner. This is a vital transportation improvement. So anything that we can do to move it along, the county in this new agreement. So this agreement that's before you increases the prop fair share, because they did make them recalculate it based on construction cost estimates from 2022 to 2024. It increased to 1.9 million, and that will be paid directly to Volusia County. Again, they will get county transportation impact fees, but they will pipeline that proportionate fair share payment directly to the VMP extension project, and hopefully get the majority of the construction funded. The construction phase hasn't been funded yet because they're still in design. Volusia County Council meeting is scheduled for June 4th. I checked this afternoon and they hadn't published their agenda, but I trust that county staff will place it on the agenda since they agreed to. If you have any questions, staff recommends that you approve the second prop fair share agreement for the Crossings PUD, authorize the mayor's signature of that agreement, and direct the city clerk to transmit the original agreement. There's 3 copies because it's a tri-party agreement to Volusia County for their final action before recording. I'm here if you have any questions.
Sounds like a win-win-win,
I think so, sir.
right? Anybody have anything for Becky? Questions, comments?
I think it's awesome.
Yeah. All right, Kaylee, will you call it, please?
Tell us how you really feel.
No.
Oh, public, anyone from the public one? Seeing none, bring it back.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
I'd like to
wait,
make a
yes, we
motion.
don't. Thank you.
I was about to say.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the second proportionate final share agreement for the Crossings planned unit development, authorize the mayor's signature, and direct the city clerk to transmit the original agreement to Volusia County for final action before recording.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second? Okay, now, no further discussion? All right, Kelly.
Getting late,
After
huh?
9
Getting-
o'clock,
getting
man,
late,
it
huh?
gets fuzzy.
I was like, was I not paying attention? I was going
I
down.
know.
Yeah, just
You were.
steps.
Okay. Councilmember Grimm?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Darms?
Yes.
Councilmember Papello? Vice Mayor Tiongson?
Yes.
Councilmember Stafford?
Yes.
Mayor Blair?
Yes, and the motion passes. Let's move on to item number 9, report, city manager.
Only one item, and it is relating to Jeff Allebach's presentation to you during his 3 minutes as a citizen. He telephoned me last week, and he wanted to be placed on the agenda under presentations so that he could make awards to numerous groups regarding the money that they had raised at the Manatee Festival. And as you'll recollect, he had done that once before, and council allowed that. I denied his request and told him he could do whatever he wanted to during his 3 minutes. And I did that because it set a precedent last year where other groups also wanted to come in here and hand out awards. There were 2 notable instances. One was handing out awards to quite a number of students who had worked in the program. In fact, both of them involved students. And I'm not opposed to that, but I really don't think that your meeting should be used by other agencies, and that the city council dais should be used as a stage for other agencies to make award presentations to people, regardless of whether it's for a good cause or whether or not they're city-sponsored events, because you do quite a number of sponsorships throughout the year. So if you don't like my decision, that's fine, and want a policy that enables people to do that, bring it up under council, under new business, not necessarily this meeting, but at some future meeting, because otherwise I'm going to continue to deny people, you know, who want to use you as a forum to hand out awards to other groups. They could, you know, certainly do that at a restaurant or at their own club membership meetings.
We would have been here till 11:30, so thank you.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Hey, we're not done yet.
It's Jeff, you know.
Okay, anything for the city manager? Okay, seeing none, thank you, ma'am. City clerk?
Hi, I actually have a couple things for
Oh,
you.
yep.
So I know I'm a little bit early. However, the section 411 of the charter states that council is supposed to certify the election results at their first regular meeting scheduled in November. However, I will not receive certified election results from the supervisor of elections until after that date. The first regular meeting is scheduled for November 12th. I will not receive certified election results from SOE until November 19th, or I'm sorry, November 15th. So I am requesting a special meeting to be held on November 19th to certify the election results. Also, section 2.03, vice mayor states that election of the vice mayor shall be done annually at the first regular meeting in November. I also wanted to see if you would like to move the election of the vice mayor to the proposed special meeting date. I know Mr. Reichman's verifying me right now. We also have to do this for the election in 2022 as well.
Right, you could have a whole different set of people on the board if you don't do that.
Right.
So,
Your charter says 411, the council shall certify the results of the election provided by the supervisor at the first regular or special council meeting following the election. So if you, since it would be impossible to do it at the first regular meeting, then your city clerk is correct. It would be appropriate to comply with your charter to call a special meeting. I don't think we need to do that tonight, but it's something to keep on our radar screen to make sure that in order to comply with our charter, we do call that special meeting.
So I actually do need to have a set date for certifying election results. I will have likely at least one that will have to file a resign to run by May 31st, and she has to provide an exact date.
Okay, I stand corrected.
So you are more than welcome
Are we,
to use the special meeting date I proposed. I'm not sure if
are we canceling one of the meetings, either on the 12th or the 26th,
So
for the
af-
19th?
So after that request, we typically cancel the second regular meetings in November and December due to the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. The second meeting in November falls on November 26th, which is the week of Thanksgiving, and the second meeting in December falls on December 24th, which is Christmas Eve. City offices are closed, so I was also going to request if we could cancel those ahead of time as well. I know I'm extremely early, but like I said, I just have to get my dates in line for my election candidates to file their resign to runs.
And this happens, she's being proactive because this happens every time.
Right.
Where Dale will say, you know, or somebody will say, are you okay with canceling the Thanksgiving meetings, right? And then the election never comes in time, so we have to do this, so.
Yes, it takes 10 days for us to get certified election results back from the supervisor elections. So the election is being held on November 5th, and I will not have those results from her until November 15th.
Okay, so what you're looking for is to cancel the meeting in November. right?
Second-
The
second meeting.
Second meeting in November.
Second regular meeting.
Then have a special meeting on, what
The
you said, the 19th.
The 19th.
And then also cancel November and December, second meeting in November and December.
So as of right now, the way it looks is we would have our first regular council meeting on November 12th. Then the week after, we would have a special meeting on Tuesday, November 19th, to certify the election results and elect a vice mayor if you choose to move it to that second meeting date. And then we would look at canceling November 26th and December 24th council meetings.
Okay, so all that sounds great, except for under 2.03, it says election of the vice mayor shall be done annually at the first regular council meeting in November. Does not say at a special meeting. Whereas the charter for the certification says at a regular or special. Sorry.
That's correct.
So
And
for
if
canceling the
you'll-
26th,
if you'll
we'll have to-
recall, Bill, we went through this last year because there were changes in the election laws. And those changes made it almost universal that nobody could follow their charters and do that. And we just wrote out the agenda item and explained all the rationale on it.
I'm saying that there is no problem with having a special meeting for the certification.
Right.
It's just that your charter says that the election of the vice mayor shall be at the first regular meeting in November.
I understand
Okay,
that. And,
okay.
and what I'm saying is, we didn't do that last time, because what will happen on November 6th, well, we don't know who all's running.
I'm going to have 6
There's,
seats on this election.
you have 6 seats on this election, and theoretically, a whole new board.
Oh, so it'll be just virtually impossible to have enough people already sworn in
Well,
to
you
elect
may
a vice
have
mayor.
to do it 2 times, in 2 meetings in a row.
Okay. Okay. Is that what we did last time?
Yes,
Okay.
we just took, yes, and we talked about doing a charter amendment, but there wasn't enough time.
Right.
Because it made it virtually impossible for
Right.
you to do the election the first
Sorry,
meeting
folks,
in
it's just,
November.
we've just got some practical issues we're trying to work through here.
So I can dig up the old one that presented the more rational
Good, let's do that.
thoughts and show it to you,
Okay.
so.
We do need a motion then because your special meetings have to be scheduled at a regular meeting. We're at a regular meeting, and I think she wants to do that tonight. City clerk needs that tonight. So you need to take action tonight to call the special meeting.
On just that one item, just this special meeting.
For the 19th.
Unless you want to go ahead and cancel the 2
Yeah,
meetings.
we might
the
as well
2
do it
second
all.
Yeah,
meetings.
why not wrap them all into one?
It's up
Can
to
we-
you.
One motion?
Well, it's up to the city manager whether she wants to go ahead and cancel those second meetings now, or whether, I mean, traditionally, we don't cancel those until we get closer.
Right, but-
And a lot of it depends upon the need for those meetings for agenda purposes. Now, your city attorney, I love it when there are no Thanksgiving meetings and no Christmas meetings. So-
Amen.
So you're not going to hear me object.
Mr. Capella.
Thank you. And I know traditionally we do that. I'm just going to, the point that's, this body will not be seated, and we're making decisions and implementing something on another council.
That's true.
We're been, and what will that future, I know traditionally we do, but what if we need them?
November.
And then we got to go back and do it again. I think let that council at that time say, we don't want to be here in the second week and we don't want to be here in the second week, and let them do that. But I get the point of the necessary aspect of
Yeah,
it.
we're trying to make it easier. Okay.
Yeah,
Ms. Harrington.
So what day is election day?
November 5th.
So it will be impossible. The old council, whoever they may, you guys will be here on November 6th, and we won't be swearing in any new people.
Till the 19th.
On November 6th. No one will get sworn in. So you're going to need to have another meeting to swear everyone in and attempt to meet the letter of the law.
Right.
And that's the 19th, right?
That's the 19th. If you wanted to wait until the 19th to cancel your meetings in November and December, you certainly can. But, I don't think there's really a need to do that. It's a city holiday on December 24th. And, that,
I can't remember
Yeah.
of all the years I've been in that we worked, that we had meetings those weeks.
you
right?
haven't.
You haven't.
All right, Alex, you got the floor.
Except that the funny election years where we had to, and what we did was call special meetings because we weren't going to have a meeting on a city holiday.
I think we're trying to accommodate future dais members that aren't even here yet, and I see where you're coming from, but I think if we're doing something proactive, we need to make a decision now, because people are making plans for their holidays, and for the new people coming in, hey, sorry, we made a decision while we were here.
That's
You
right.
might, rules are your friend. Just follow the rules for now, and then maybe you can make another decision when you're on. Number one. Number two. Basically, that's it. That's what I'm.
Just number one.
That's what I'm
All
trying
right,
to-
somebody want to make a motion? We can,
Yeah, I can make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to cancel, I'll start with,
You want to have a motion that's going to schedule a special meeting?
okay, yeah,
For November
November 19th.
and to cancel the second regularly scheduled meetings in November and December.
So moved. Thank you.
we got a so moved. Do we have a
A
so
second.
second? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, motion
Will we
passed.
get an email, Kaylee?
Yes.
Thank you.
It'll be in your
Everybody's
calendar.
calendar.
Thank you.
Kaylee, you got anything else?
Oh, I need to collect your iPads before you leave tonight. IT needs to do some upgrades and swap out some SIM cards in them. They have advised that they should have them done by around 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, so I can let you guys all know when they're ready to be picked up. Other than that, no. I do not.
Any questions or comments for the city clerk? Okay, city attorney, Mr. Eichmann.
No, sir. No report this evening.
Okay, anything for the city attorney? Okay. Any new business? Seeing no new business. Approval of minutes, we've done that. Council, mayor's comments and reports. Anybody have anything?
I just got to cover something real quick with the
Okay.
TPO,
Yep.
Mr. Mayor.
Please do.
I've been behind on keeping people updated. I've been to a few meetings. The TPO meets regularly, whether I want to or not. It's different from other committees that kind of waiver with the meeting schedule. But there is a Votran fair change proposal coming up. There's going to be one at Daytona Beach on June 17th, one in West Volusia, June 20th, up in DeLand, and another one in South Volusia, New Smyrna. So if you guys are interested, basically, like the base fares are going up from $175 to $2. Day passes are going from $7.50 to $8. There's not a lot, but if you have something to voice towards it, go ahead and get with me, and I'll set you straight on when these meetings are going to be, so you can have your voices heard. A couple of things from also the TPO is that things that will affect us here. Basically, there's a $50 million budget for upcoming 2025 for the 9 counties that we represent. So just something to keep in mind. $50 million is a lot of money. And if we have problems here on our roads here, the citizens need to voice out their opinions and what they think where that money should be going. Come to our meetings. There is going to be possible decisions made on the express lane when the ultimate I-4 was being done. There was a lot of grumblings because of the E-Pass lane, but basically it works. People can choose to use it or not to use it. It's up to you. And there is a proposal to extend that beyond Longwood all the way up here. So that's just something to keep in mind. There's a possible exit they're building on I-4 into the Rhode Island street. And truck parking is a big thing. Even the person in charge doesn't want to tell us where it's going to be, but there's going to be one in Volusia County. Count on it. I know it's a thing where you're either for it or you're not. Having some insight and background a little bit after I retired in transportation and logistics, I'm not going to downplay or diminish truck drivers and the role they play in the stuff that you get on a daily basis. You get eggs, you get milk, you get your stuff shipped. You need truck drivers. And they are severely don't have enough parking places. So just like with the cigarettes, let's not paint truck drivers with a wide brush. If they're acting inappropriately or doing something they shouldn't be, hold them accountable on an individual basis. But truck driving is necessary trade, and professional drivers, we need them. There's a safety initiative. We had a pedestrian get killed here. Unfortunately, there's an initiative. They're putting money into it, in that pedestrians it's called Target Zero. Basically, they don't want anybody dying from just crossing the street or being a pedestrian. And we're doing that by collaboration, thinking beyond the infrastructure, and by best practice. So if you get any ideas on, to me, when I was a police officer, we also used to say, the body will bend before the car, so don't cross if you don't think you're gonna make it. But they're taking a step forward, and maybe there's some answers that we don't know yet. Me, personally, I think on these dark areas, if you're crossing the street, there should be a light shining on you that turns on. That's just my idea. That's what I want to present to this board. But other than that, I appreciate you listening to me. Go ahead.
All right.
Just real quick. Just wanted to say, Saturday is the Kids Fest, Schools Out Fest. I would love if all of you would come and check it out. It's from 11 to 3 at Veterans Memorial Park, and it's free. Thank you.
Alex, I thought they had already determined that truck's rest area was going to be over on the east side on I-4 over by 95.
I asked specifically, and he was very vague. I think he's getting also pushback. So if you have an exact location, I'd like to hear
DOT
it.
had a thing, and we
Okay.
went to it. Yeah, so
Okay.
I thought they were doing that. Okay, does anybody else have any comments? Okay, I'm going to take you on a little trip here to Orange City. And first, I want to thank Kaylee for putting this PowerPoint together. I sent her an album full of photos, and I'm going to try to get through this really quick. Oh, look how nice that is.
Orange City, Iowa.
Yes. Okay, so I left week ago Thursday, went to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is about an hour and 15 minutes from Orange City, Iowa. Spent the night there. I spent every night there, actually. Okay, so just the forward button. Okay, that is actually Sioux Falls in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Now, see Orange City? Everybody thought it was a little podunky kind of place. Let me tell you what.
I know.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful? And something I'll point out there, the tulips had bloomed a little bit early this year, so they weren't quite as pretty as they should be. But this is the Dutch Dozen, high school young men and women. Whoever would have thought that wooden shoes were a percussion instrument? This is just taken in the alley. This lady had this beautiful outfit on, and so I asked if she wouldn't mind taking the picture, and she was delighted to. As you see, I wore my silly suit there, and met the fire chief is on the right, the deputy chief on the left. Fire chief insisted that I sit up in the truck. Okay, so I had to comply.
The volume now not suit.
And how, yeah, that's,
You really have no shame, do you?
I have none whatsoever. And you know, Bill, as well as anyone, I hate the color orange because of a certain university in this state. Anyway, that was the mayor, Deb DeHaan is her name. And she saw me down there and came up. When I first got to Orange City, I met with their city administrator, Earl Woodstra, and we met at the Prairie Event Center, which I've got a picture of later on here. And he gave me a tour around the whole town. The middle of town was closed down for this festival. And they're very progressive in attracting businesses. Everything is immaculate there. People's houses, the businesses, everything is just clean as you could imagine.
How many residents did it have?
About 7,000, yep. That's in the park downtown. Is that going automatically, or you gave me this? I'll do it. Okay. And Becky wants to go home, I can see. Anyway, this is their downtown park, and this is like a little replica miniature of a Dutch canal that you would find in Amsterdam or somewhere like that. Now I will go on to the next one. Okay, the bridge to Orange City. There you go. Just a replica. There's a family. Hundreds, if not thousands of people were dressed up for this event, and see all those kids are all... And it's funny, the city administrator, I asked about the demographics, and he says it's kind of like an hourglass. They have a lot of young people. There's a university there, Northwestern College, not a university, a college, Christian college. People will stay, the young people will stay in Orange City as they get their education. They go on, they leave, but then they come back when they get older. But many people I talked to were there they had grown up there, they're off working in some other part of the country, and they come back for this festival every year. They put their Dutch garb on, and away they go. This is the mayor on the right handing off the ceremonial medallion to this woman who is, I don't know what her title was, but she had something to do with the duties of running the ceremonies were passed on to her. Anybody know what the flag is on the left? I thought it might be the Iowa flag, but it wasn't. It's the Dutch flag. Yes, very good, Mr. Papello.
Yes.
Okay, so here they are. They have 2 parades every day. They have dances. They have the kids in the street. It's just incredible. I mean, it's just the amount of energy and everything they put in. Notice the orange clogs, yes. One of the kids in one of the groups, he said his clogs were so uncomfortable that he wanted to throw them away, so he threw them down the toilet, and it was one of the worst clogs he ever had.
Waiting for that one with a pair of orange clogs that you could wear?
No, sir, I didn't. And there was one kid at the parade. I was talking to him, and he had these clogs on. I said, "Are those things really that uncomfortable?" He says, "No, these are great because they're made of foam." Okay, so chief, that's the police chief and one of his detectives there. This is the mayor, council members, the woman, the 2 fellas there, and then that one council member's son. The guy on the far left, I don't know his name, but he was a state rep. I was invited to inspect the streets, which is a ceremony where you go down. They gave me a cane, and we walked down the street with the town crier guy there, and determined that the streets were filthy, and they really needed to be cleaned up. And so after that, the kids come out. And when I first got there and I met with the city administrator, I said, "That's really cool. You have these big galvanized things full of water." And I thought they were for the horses to water up as they go. He says, "Oh, no, those are for the street cleaning ceremony." And so one of the guys on the council actually took that picture of me, and he sent it a few days later. There's one of those vats that they keep the water in. And as you see, all the different dancing, and this guy, he was a trip.
Doctor.
Yeah. And so there, what happens is the young men come out and they take buckets and they put the water all over the street, and then the women and other children come out behind them, and then they sweep the streets down clean. That's a replica of a float there of one of the buildings that's on the campus of Northwestern College. There, and you see they use them as hot tubs also. They have a little breakfast in the morning, and too bad Mr. O'Connor isn't here for his Navy guys.
Says Pensacola on that one.
Yeah, it did. And these are just some of the various floats. The Pizza Ranch is a big outfit out there. It's like CiCi's Pizza. It's a buffet style. And they're actually headquartered in Orange City. And it was funny, you'd hear people talking about, on the speakers. And on every block, they have like an announcer stand, and the whole street is wired for sound. So if you're talking in the microphone at one end of the street, they hear it all the way down the parade route, which is pretty cool. But it was funny hearing over the speakers, Orange City this and Orange City that. And I'd look around, I'm like, well, this doesn't look like my town. Okay, Chief, where's the, one of their retired guys made that, and it's a little pumper, and they actually use it in the parade. It's functional, and they come down the street, and they're pumping it, and they spray the water all over the attendees.
Instead of a Kubota.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
Good one, Anthony. And also, their fire department up there is, and you'll see a picture of it here in a minute, that was outside it. They're all volunteers. The chief all the way down, everybody's a volunteer. They still have a water tower.
Nice.
That's Diamond Vogel, big paint plant out there. Their home is right there in Orange City. That's like the Welcome Center on the outside of town there. Those tulips were kind of okay, but they up close were a little bit wilty also. And see here, the city gets involved with the trying to attract businesses. They bought land where they develop. They'll sell lots, like residential lots, for rental homes for $10,000 to qualified developers. And they put up these beautiful buildings. There's not a lot of them. And it helps, and then they have an adult care facility, hire more expensive homes, and then more like family homes. And they're all kind of in this one area. You'll have a block with the rental homes, and then the next block will be the little bit better homes. And then, but it's very well planned out. For a little city, I was very impressed on how progressive that they really are. And that there's one of the Industry Centrum. That's, I guess, a dog care place. They have a trail that goes from Orange City to Alton. I think the next little town is over a mile or two away. They actually have two trails. One is paved. This one here is a gravel trail. They have a hospital there. But look how orderly and nice everything is. And even the residences there are just, everybody just takes great pride in their home.
No cigarette butts.
Yeah, right, no cig butts. As a matter of fact, I didn't see one when I was there. So there's one of their areas, south of town. Here's a good one. I used to date a girl named DeZeo, and her father was from this area, actually, and I didn't know it. And so when I was out there, I sent her a text, and I said, I can't help but think of you and your dad while I'm out in this part of the country. She said, well, he grew up in Sioux Center. That was the next town north of there. And their last name was DeZeo, which took me a year to learn how to say that. Okay, who did let the clogs out? There's the Prairie Winds Event Center. That's where I met Earl when I first arrived. Beautiful building. Everything there's done in the Dutch revival, is that what you would say, or architecture? Even the new buildings, just beautiful. Those are new buildings, but you see they have that old flair to them. That's out there at the Welcome Center. Orange City, that's the fire department behind there, Ronnie. There is their fire department. And they gave me a tour. Their deputy chief gave me a walk through there.
They only got
My
7
phone had gone dead. I know, you want one. I know. We're going to get you one. But just everything to me appeared state of the art. And one thing I noticed in there, they had a rack where they dried out the hoses. And talking to Ronnie, he says, well, that's kind of more of an up north thing because they freeze and stuff like that. And just some of the equipment for cleaning their uniforms and the things of that nature.
Aren't they also completely volunteer?
I said that already. Yes. But thank you for.
Just want to make sure.
Okay, this was a couple that were standing there watching the parade. I said, let me get your picture. And it was funny because once I got there, and this was the second day, I went back for day 2 to take more pictures and stuff, but I had my silly suit on the first day. And word spread through town really fast that the mayor of the other Orange City is there. I said, no, you're the other Orange City, not us. And so I'd be walking down the street and people would stop me. They'd want my picture and to talk about, and learn about us. And so naturally, I really promoted the Manatee Festival. As a Florida State Seminole, I had to take this because that's my favorite sandwich there, the tomahawk pork chop. For you, Mr. Reichman. This has got to be the coolest lunch wagon that I've ever seen. Food truck, I guess the word I'm looking for. This guy here reminded me of Bill Crippen. For some reason, I don't know why, but he did the demonstrations for making the clogs. His name was David. He was a cool guy. That's on, that's the courthouse there, because Orange City is the county seat of Sioux County. There's some more Little Wilty. Those weren't in too bad a shape, but you see how they're kind of dried up. Okay, tulip time. This is taken in the museum there. This is a dog treadmill that they use to power washing machines. Yeah. Those Dutch are clever people. These were the people in the museum, and they were just tickled to have, someone from the other Orange City come and visit them and that. So here's some more parade.
Wow, look
Old Dutch float. There you are, Ronnie. There are the boys. There's my new boat. And the Tulip Festival. And that's it. Oh, no, that is really my new boat there that I just bought Saturday. Thank you. It's my retirement house. And so I had a great time. The people up there are warm. They're friendly. They love the fact that I took my time to go up and visit with them. I think it was good for relations, told them all about our Manatee Festival and the things that we got going on here. And I had no regrets whatsoever going up there, taking time off of work and that sort of thing. And they're just lovely, lovely people there.
Mr. Mayor, I have to say I'm a little bit nervous that you created a precedent this evening that we're going to have a series of vacation slideshows for in future city council meetings.
Well,
I'm going to Iceland, so.
Yeah, no, unless they go to a county named Volusia or a city named Orange City, we're not going to allow it, right?
Pictures for y'all.
Yeah. No, I think that was city related. I know it was a little off subject, but I think that was.
He did get published on the front page of their newspaper, and it's titled "The Other Mayor of Orange City."
Oh.
Yes.
I dare you to wear that suit one Tuesday night. Here.
Don't do that.
Hey, if I do that, be sure you wear your sunglasses. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion? Got a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?